I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me. I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me. I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dano channel. I am Dano, and I'm back with another video. Today we are going to be reviewing and talking about Rogue One. It's finally out. It's been a long year waiting for Rogue One. And this is the best part about being a Star Wars fan right now, is that every year we have something to look forward to now. So now that Rogue One's over, we can start looking forward to Episode 8. So I'm super ecstatic. This is amazing. I gotta tell you guys, I liked Rogue One a lot. Also, spoiler warning, we're gonna be talking about everything. Like, as much as I can ramble about in the next few minutes. So spoilers, all the spoilers. There's a reason that I waited a few days before doing my review. Is one, I really wanted the movie to like settle in. I wanted to watch it a couple times before I really talked about it with you guys and let you know my real opinion. Also, I wanted to be able to talk about spoilers. I wanted to give you guys a chance to see it through the weekend, and maybe now that we can all talk about spoilers, more people can watch and actually get in on the conversation. So, like I said from the very beginning, I loved it. I think Rogue One was great. I think it was a success. I think Disney, Lucasfilms, they've showed us that they can make a Star Wars movie that doesn't have to be about the Skywalkers. Now this one, it's still a familiar story because it's part of Episode 4. It's in the crawl. This is part of the main story, but it's not necessarily a Skywalker film, though we did have appearances by Darth Vader. It was its own standalone thing. It was a Star Wars story. And I think it's a success. I think this means stuff like the Han Solo movie can be done well. I think this means we can see other types of movies. We can see a band documentary about figuring Deanne and the modal notes. That would be amazing, like Spinal Tap or something. We can see a movie about the Kessel Run. You know, there's a lot of really cool options. And now I think the community, hopefully after Rogue One, I know there's some people who still find things they didn't like about it, and there will always be complainers. In fact, I didn't think Rogue One was perfect. There were a couple things I didn't like, but I'll save that for a little bit later. But I think that as a community, we can kind of all start to agree that Disney and Lucasfilms, where they're at right now, they can throw together a pretty decent movie. And the movies don't have to be about Skywalkers. They can be anything. I feel that as long as they're set in the Star Wars universe and enough attention's paid to those details to really make it feel like Star Wars, they can do anything. They can do whatever, and it will probably be enjoyable. So let's talk about some of the big differences between Rogue One and a regular saga film and episode. There was no crawl, because it technically is the crawl. But the way the movie started was really interesting. Starts with the blue letters saying a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And then all of a sudden the music just goes doop. It's like high-pitched, I don't know, piano or flutes or what they were. It was like a very high-pitched doop, and then just shows us the planet. And then it gets right into the story. It's a little bit of a prologue. And it shows you when Jyn was a child and the little bit of a relationship between Krennic and Galen and what happens there. But what's neat is if you read the book Catalyst, or you listen to the audiobook like I did for Catalyst, you have a good idea as to what that relationship is already, because you already know that backstory. So the book Catalyst, while it's not necessary to enjoy Rogue One, it definitely helped. And it definitely made there was little moments throughout the movie where you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Because I know the story already, thanks to Catalyst. Now, there is a link down in the description below if you want to get the audiobook of Catalyst. You can get a free trial at audible.com. They specialize in audiobooks. So there is my own referral affiliate link down in the description below. It helps out the channel if you sign up for the trial and get the book for free. But the thing is, like I said, it's not necessary. Now, after we saw that little prologue, we see the title and the theme for the movie. It was really short. The Rogue One theme music was like really quick. But it was kind of interesting to not have the normal crawl and get that instead. And then we get into like the movie. We get to see Cassian Andor doing some questionable stuff. That's one of the things that I really liked about this movie, is that we got to see that the Rebel Alliance. Well, the whole thing, it's kind of hard to word this, but we got to see that it's not black and white. It's not good and bad. We got to see that the Rebel Alliance is not necessarily always doing the right thing. Though we think of them as the good guys and the Empire's the bad guys, there's some blurred lines there. You can tell that the Rebel Alliance was just really like Cassian straight up killed that dude in the very beginning. It was kind of like, whoa, 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 what's happening here? And that's just the situation they were in. And what was neat about this movie is it makes you rewatch A New Hope from kind of a different light. You get to see just how dire the situation was. You know that there was so much at stake. There was so much at stake. Seriously, like, the whole Death Star plans thing almost didn't happen. If you think about it, the council said no. The council said, no, we're not going to do it, even though you have the plans. You know how to stop the Death Star. The council all said no. They freaked out. One of the best parts of the movie, when that guy yells, "What is she proposing?" from the background, that's hilarious. I just laughed. That and the moment when, towards the end of the movie, General Radis, the guy who's like Akbar, it's a trap, that kind of guy, he's a Mon Calamari. When they get the plans beamed up, the other Mon Calamari's like, "We have the Death Star plans!" Just the way he said it was hilarious. That moment and the, "What is she proposing?" really just cracked me up. Those were two of the funniest lines that weren't supposed to be funny. I don't know, did you guys notice those? But back to the whole point is it almost didn't happen. If it weren't for this group, Rogue One, of Jyn, Cassian, Baze, Chirrut, Bodhi, none of this would have happened. They would have never gotten the plans. The Rebel Alliance had basically given up. They were like, no, we just give up. Sorry, we can't do anything. Womp womp, end of story. So it was interesting to see that how responsible this group was to make the whole thing come together. And what was nice about the movie is that in the trailers, they'd kind of hinted that it was going to be really about Jyn Erso. And it wasn't just about Jyn Erso. It was about the group. It was about all of them. We got, I feel like, an equal amount of Jyn / Cassian. I would have liked to seen a lot more Chirrut and Baze Malbus, because I really loved them. Like, personally, if I had to pick favorites out of the whole movie, Chirrut and Baze are, like, my favorite. In fact, the next morning after watching Rogue One, I did a podcast called Resistance Radio. Now, I've done a couple episodes of Resistance Radio before. It's run by some friends of mine, Mikey and Danya. So definitely, there's a link in the description. Go give them a listen. Tell them I sent you. But it's a really good Star Wars podcast. Every week, they have a cool spotlight topic, and they talk about something different. But there was a bunch of us who were on this big, huge Rogue One reactions episode. So you can hear more about me rambling on that if you want. It's kind of a long one. It's like 2 hours, but it's fun. It's just a bunch of Star Wars fans talking Star Wars. Now, one of the things we mentioned in that podcast was that we would like to see something like a comic book, maybe? Or like, I don't know about a standalone movie, but definitely a comic book of Baze and Chirrut. Those two have such a history that they've hinted at. I need to know more. I need to know what happened to him. How did Baze lose his way? When we first hear his name, Baze Malbus, it's because Chirrut is saying Baze Malbus used to be one of the most devout of all the Guardians. And something happened to make him lose his faith in the Force, which of course is restored by the end of the movie in a beautiful, beautiful way. It just makes you wonder, like, what did they go through? What the heck? And speaking of what did they go through, what about Cassian? Cassian at one point in the movie says, "I've been fighting this fight since I was 6. So, some of us lost everything." He's been fighting this since he was 6. What the heck happened to him when he was 6 years old? Again, perfect opportunity for Marvel, Lucasfilms, Disney to come together and make a cool Cassian Andor comic or a cool Baze and Chirrut comic. So hopefully that does come to fruition and happen, because I don't really think that there's a better way to do that. I don't know if they deserve full standalone films. Maybe years from now they'll get their own standalone films, but I think a comic book would do the job just fine. Now, overall, the movie moved really, really quickly. It started out with that boop, and then the planet happened, but it ended in the same way. Like, before you know it, you're into the movie. And then when it ends, before you know it, the movie's over. Like, everything's happening, things are going crazy. They get the plans, they get the ship, Vader does his thing, and then, like, boom, movie's over. Which I get it leads right into A New Hope, but it was so fast-paced. It was kind of hard to take. At the end, I was like, what? I want more, even though everybody's dead. Spoiler alert. And again, that's one of my biggest complaints, is that I want more. I wanted more Jyn Erso. I wanted to see more Jyn Erso. I need to know more about Cassian Andor. I want more Chirrut and Baze. I really like Bodhi, too. Every single one of these characters I want to know more about, with the exception of Krennic and Galen, because I already know about them because I listened to Catalyst. So, boom. Done. Check them off the list. So, on to some of the things I didn't like about the movie. I know what you're thinking. Here goes. Yes, I'm going to be super nitpicky for the case of just finding something wrong with the movie, because I can't give you like a perfect review. It's got to have something wrong with it, right? It's what fanboys do. So, there were a couple things that took me out of the movie during my first viewing. First one being Tarkin. CGI Tarkin. Bringing Peter Cushing back from the dead as a CGI actor was weird for me the first time I saw it. And it took me out of the moment. I was like, okay, that's clearly a fake, not real person. Now, the second time I saw the movie, I was much closer. I was like third row, one of these fancy reclining theaters where you get like your own little recliner. And so I was like lean back, and you have to like look and move your head physically to see all sides of the screen. So I was up close. But the second time viewing it like that, I didn't notice it as much. It didn't take me out of the movie so much. And I don't know if it was because I had already seen it and there was no shock value, or it was my proximity to the screen. I was so close that I couldn't really tell and it was blurry, but it didn't bug me as much the second time around. And the same thing happened with the other thing that bugged me, which was this guy right here, Darth Vader. The first time I watched it, I thought Darth Vader looked a little off. I was like, when we left on the car ride back, I was asking my girlfriend, I was like, did you think he just looked a little weird? Like something in his neckline? And I thought it was the chain. At first I thought, because all the figures that I have, or most of the figures, have this little chain here that holds his cape together, kind of keeps it on. And I noticed there was no chain as I was watching the movie, but it's not just the chain, because I went and watched A New Hope, and in those opening scenes, you can't see the chain. So something in the neckline was a little weird with the way the helmet was done. And also the voice was a little off for me the first time I heard it. Now again, the second time I watched this, it didn't bug me at all. I was totally fine with it. I was like, okay, cool. Another thing that bugged me was during Vader's big scene, spoilers, of course, where he massacres all the rebel troops. I loved that scene. I thought that was really, really cool, the way it was done. It was dark, and then all of a sudden we see that red lightsaber come on and lights up the room, and all heck breaks loose. It was really, really cool, and it was brutal. It was really brutal to see Darth Vader do that. But when they all started shooting at him and he started deflecting, you could see his lightsaber going like crazy all over the place. That, I thought, was a little too much. I feel like Vader would have been a little more calculated. If they wanted to make it feel like the Vader from A New Hope, it would have been more like smooth strokes, like ka-ka-ka. Like every time it shot, he would have blasted like 3 at once, or instead of all this waving around as crazy, I feel like he would have been a bit more calculated, and that would have made him seem a little more menacing if he was just slowly walking towards you. No matter what you shot at him, he was just effortlessly just block, 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 with like very minimal movement. I feel like that would have been kind of a cooler way, but that's just me. What do you guys think? I don't know. That took me out a little bit of it, but seeing him use the Force and being able to pull all the guns out of everyone's hand and slam that guy to the ceiling, that was straight out of like Battlefront 2, or it was straight out of a video game. Being able to do that was just really, I was like, what am I watching? What is this? So much is happening right now. It was really, really cool. Now, another thing that bugged me from the movies, I kind of hinted at earlier, was that so much from the trailers did not make it into the final film. Like, seriously, what happened? Like, there's a moment in the film where they're running with the data tape, and it's just not, there's a moment in the trailer when they're running with the data tape, and it didn't make it into the final film. In fact, it couldn't have made it to the final film because the data tape never left that tower. So it just makes me wonder, like, what changed? What in the story changed either during those reshoots or in the final edit? Because the story that we got to see in theaters, the final cut, was not what they had hinted to in the trailers. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like we're misled a little bit, but I'm totally happy with the result. So, again, who knows? Who knows? Now, this movie was filled with tons and tons of Easter eggs. Like, it was just Easter eggs every 5 seconds. There was something, whether it was a ship from Rebels, there was the Hammerhead ships that they got on Rebels. In fact, the episode with Princess Leia was the one where they acquired the Hammerhead ships, which they used against the Star Destroyer to break the gate on Scarif. That was really cool. There was more Rebel stuff. Chopper was in the background. The Ghost, the ship, was in the background. If you listen closely, you could hear them talk about General Syndulla. Someone paged General Syndulla, which was really cool. I did a double take with my girlfriend when we heard that. We're like, what? You heard it. So that was a really cool, like, fan moment. there was just so much going on in the background. Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba were on Jeddah, and they ran into him like, you better watch yourself. That was hilarious. There was just a lot. K2SO, I don't know if I mentioned K2SO, but he was amazing. He was the comedic relief, but he wasn't Jar Jar Binks. So he was, he was the cause of all the jokes, and he was our source of laughter, but he didn't foul it up, and it wasn't as obnoxious as Jar Jar was. Now, I am a fan of Episode 1. I will openly admit to liking Episode 1. I like a lot about that movie. I'm not saying it's the best movie ever made. I'm not saying it's the best Star Wars ever made. But I like it. I enjoy watching it. And I know it's got its flaws, but I enjoy it. But I will agree that Jar Jar is obnoxious. He's awful. And he's the one responsible for the Empire, pretty much. So, boo to him. But K2SO was nothing of the sort. He was hilarious. Alan Tudyk really, really nailed it. In fact, all the characters really nailed it. I need more. I need more Rogue One. Now, my question is, do you think they're going to make a Rogue 2 where we get to see the story about all the Bothans that died to get the plans for Death Star 2? Because I would watch that movie. I think that'd be really cool. It'd have to be mostly CGI characters because Bothans are like hairy, dog-looking dudes. But either way, I'd watch it. At this point, I'm convinced they can do anything with Star Wars, and I would just be like, take all my money, I love it. So, what did you guys think? I really do want to know what your guys' opinions are. Let's have a little discussion down in the comments below. How did you feel about Rogue One? Did it meet your expectations? Did you not have any expectations? I heard a lot of people saying that. They're like, I don't want to expect anything in case it's terrible. It wasn't terrible, it was great. So, don't worry, it's great. But I want to know, what did you guys think? What was your favorite Easter egg? Leave that down in the comments below, because there were a lot. I'm sure I didn't even catch all of them. I might have to go watch it a couple more times just to make sure I get all of them. But there's just so much Star Wars going on. It was like a love letter to Star Wars fans, and I'm just so pleased with it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. If you're not new around here, share this video with a Star Wars fan, because that's how the channel grows. It's how the family gets bigger. So do that, and until next time, may the Force have with you, and goodbye forever.